Welcome to the Numbers Game. I'm Jason. I'm here with Nick and Marty. Great to be joined with you boys. What's happening? How are we both?
Going really well, thanks, Jace. Very stimulated about today's episode. I'm going all social media and digital with Zuckerberg and Musk. And Musk is not yet in jail as Nick's prediction at the end of last year. But it's not to say that's not going to happen. So let's just watch this space. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I got 6 months to go, so could still happen. And I think it was you that was saying that Elon Musk and Zuckerberg have challenged each other to a cage fight. Is that happening?
Yep. Yeah, that was happening. But Musk's mum said no on Twitter. So she's put a stop to it. She's shut it down. So it's good to see that Mummy still has got Elon's back, even with all those billions in the account.
It could almost be back on this cage fight after some of the recent things that we may be discussing today. But on the predictions, though, I did talk about the Bombers winning a game for the first time in 15 years, finals game, I should say, in 15 years. And Nick, in recent weeks, the Bombers and the Crows faced off. By the time this episode goes live, did you happen to catch the game?
I watched the second half, but Bombers were too good, mate. Bombers were too good. I still feel like we're a better side, as strange as that might sound. But
that sounds strange.
I was trying to explain to my wife last night. Watching the game, I was like, I still think we're a better side. You know, we had more of the ball, and we just weren't capitalising. She just looked at me like, "You idiot! Like, you just got pantsed." So anyway, all good. Happy to see the Bombers doing well for you two boys. So
that's all right. Good. Well, it's very quick to go. By the time this goes live, who knows? We've had to play Geelong between now and then, and we may have that simply losing to Geelong will drop us from 5th till about 9th or 10th on the ladder. It's very tight in that space. So, hopefully my prediction for the year still goes well. I mean, the AI prediction that AI would be everywhere. I mean, we're 7 months into the 2023 calendar year, and it's probably not as hot as I would have liked it to be. There's a bit of noise, but there's plenty going on. But before we fire into today's episode, I'd just like to say that it's brought to you by the team at Future Advisory that are pumping away in tax return land at the moment. So if you do need to get your tax returns sorted, futureadvisory.com.au, there's a book online button in the top right-hand corner, and check in with the team and see what you can get back from the tax man, because it's been a bit of an interesting year for a lot of people who are having a bit of financial pain with their refunds and almost getting tax bills as well. So there's some weird stuff going on, and if you can't do it yourself, get an expert to help you out. So today, Marty, you've talked a little bit earlier about you starting to get onto social media. So I didn't know if you had a phone that allowed you to connect to the internet. I thought, but if you do, what have you found, Marty? What's this new social media contraption you're talking about?
Thank you again for insulting my age, Chase. Wouldn't be a week in my life without copying something on grey hair or being immobile. So,
is this the string in the cup thing you were talking about, Marty? You can tell what your neighbours are up to.
Yeah, you put two cans together, and it has to be a certain type of string. And Bunnings don't sell it anymore, which is a bit disconcerting. No, as you know, boys, I've been losing myself in the digital platforms and socials over the weekend. Threads, you would have heard about it. It's probably been up and running for about 3 weeks, and it's I guess an equivalent to Twitter in this Zuckerberg and Elon Musk war. But I think very clever from Zuckerberg. There's no ads on this Threads. It's basically aesthetically more pleasing. There's probably about 10% more functionality than what Twitter has. Like, you can have 500 characters, you can do videos, everything you like to do in share on each other's posts. And you can't yet personally message someone on Threads, which is a big no-no. I think they need to change that. But it's fascinating. They have attracted 90 million downloads and users onto the Threads platform within virtually the first 3 days. So by the time we'll be going out on air, it's probably going to be well over 100 million. And just to give you some scope, I don't know whether this is a competitive advantage that Zuckerberg's trying to get, or he's just trying to absolutely kill off Elon. Instagram already has 2.4 billion monthly active users. Twitter only has 396 million active users, but traditionally they're very loyal, the Twitter users. But this is giving Twitter users a chance to actually abandon the platform and come over into Instagram and Threads. And the experience, and just hearing, I have nephews and people a lot younger than me, Jace, using the platform already, and they're saying what's nice about it is it's all about community connection and communication again. No ads on the platform yet, but as if that's not going to change ultimately. But they're saying it's just at its very infancy stage, so everyone's really excited about it. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. It's a very simple onboarding process to get Threads. The other thing that I really like that Zuckerberg has done here, apart from the cage match with Elon, is that if you start up Threads, you start up an account, in order to cancel that account, you have to cancel Instagram altogether. So it's very smart play in regards to getting that user base traction up and then maintaining it as well. I thought, what an interesting strategic move. So I thought, how much does competition play a role in this, and how much is it just Zucker going for the jugular here? I'm not quite sure. I think competition's healthy, and we can relate that to our own industries. But what are your general thoughts on it, lads?
Well, I think it's smart from Zuckerberg because Twitter's in a bit of trouble, which is why Elon's come in. What do you think? I'm interested in the fact that you have to close your Instagram account if you don't have a Threads account.
I should explain myself, Nick. If you've got an Instagram account and you don't use Threads, you just can have your Instagram account. But if you do download Threads and you want to utilize it to cancel it, then you have to cancel both. So you don't have to take it up. But if you want to log on to Threads and then you say it's not for me, you then have to cancel your whole Instagram account.
It's still pretty harsh, I would have thought.
It is.
It's because most, looking at the way things are going, most people would be anti that these days, and I'm not sure if that would have a positive or a negative impact.
They may look to change it too. I mean, at the moment, it was just I set up a couple of accounts over the weekend, and it was just seamless. If you decide to use Instagram to set up your Threads, which I think is the main thing they're doing at the moment, just while they're, they've launched a quick, what do you call it, like a fast startup version of a product. Like it's definitely so far from their finished version. I think we're just going to test the waters and see how it went. And then, if enough users adopt it, then they can go all in on it. And I think proof will be in the pudding at the moment that the amount of users that have jumped on, the interaction, people then posting from Threads back onto their Instagram stories. And then that's driving engagement. Because if you're on Instagram and you didn't know what Threads was, chances are over the weekend you saw other people putting their threads back onto their Instagram. Whereas, Twitter, people go there and add some stuff to Twitter and then you kind of don't then send it somewhere else. So yeah, the integration's quite interesting between Instagram and Threads. I don't think long-term, if you decided to shut down Threads, that'd make you delete your Instagram. I don't think that'll be a long-term thing because when you think about that, that's kind of counterintuitive to the share value of Meta. If you're making users cancel and you're losing a subscriber of Instagram just because they want to shut down their threads. So I think that'll be a long-term thing they'll change up. But from a competition and industry type of thing, why this was brought to our attention and, why I think it hit you, Marty, was just how, vulnerable some companies can be to being copied or, having a competitor come along and do something the same or better than them. So obviously that's important to protect your brand and protect your IP. And it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out in courts. I mean, Elon Musk is talking about suing Zuck already. Zuckerberg went on to Twitter and did a tweet for the first time in 10 years. So, this is two of these tech billionaires having this is an online version of that cage fight that we may not get to see, Marty. But there's this meme where two Spider-Mans point at each other and they're dressed the same. It's like, hey, I'm you and you're me. And Zuck posted that to Elon being like, hey, here I am copying Twitter, like a blatant, just absolute FU to Elon's face. And the whole Twitter and thread world went wild. They're like, look at this, and so I know it's driving a lot of attention and I'm sure Meta's share price probably took a hit after all this investment into the metaverse that doesn't seem to have kind of gone anywhere. And this could have been a little bit of a Hail Mary for Zuck to kind of bring back some share value and some excitement for the investors. And look, to be honest,
Well-
yeah, as I said, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because it doesn't seem kind of right to be able to just copy somebody else's business model and launch a product that's exactly the same as somebody else's. And from the word going around, it's that a lot of the Twitter employees that were sacked by Elon actually got hired by Meta. So not only did Zuck, create this new platform that looks like Twitter, feels like Twitter, performs in a similar way to Twitter, but he's also got ex-Twitter employees working on developing this software. So I don't know, it's going to be an interesting one to see how it plays out. But I guess the message for people out there that have businesses or have ideas is to look at how you can launch it, look at how you can protect it. And if you are going to have something that can be copied, you need to make sure that you're fast to move into the market and that you give your users a reason not to leave you and go somewhere else.
Well, they always say in any business, the most important things are the need for what you do. So certainly a need. People want to communicate online. Your ability to do it, which is basically what sets you apart, and how difficult is it to replace you is the third thing. And it sounds like what Elon has is very replaceable. Whether it's legal to be able to do this, I guess that will play out. But they're three really important components when you're specializing in any business or industry. And I relate it back to our finance industry and going, we have so many brokers that have access to the similar products. And I'm going, well, what's our competitive edge? What's our point of difference? And it comes down to your ability to do it. It's like, we can be replaced by the next mortgage broker or the next financial planner, but it's our ability to do it and also to integrate various different services around it that creates that point of difference in the market. So we become very difficult to replace in that standpoint. Many businesses in our industry have those components as well, but not more than 10%. So it's like you're playing in a unique field, but you certainly have to think about that as a business owner. Otherwise, you could be very easily replaced. It's the same thing as if you take it from an employee standpoint, you always want to be of value in the same way because, again, if your ability is unique to someone else, even though you're doing a similar service and you're getting traction out there in the market, that's your own unique point of difference as well. So it can happen at an individual level and also at a company level. But the one thing I know, and it's the same as we talked about comedy the last episode, the last couple of episodes, and there's no new ideas. It's just reimagined ideas of the same thing coming together in new ways, which is always fascinating. So I guess there are legalities around things, trademarks, patents, all sorts of things to protect ideas, which you need. Otherwise, everyone would just be duplicating the crap out of each other. But I like it. I like sometimes being second to market is actually quite interesting. You can get great scale, but it's amazing when you can learn off someone else's mistakes and then you incorporate other industries that you see and you bring in unique concepts together in their own way. And that's what people say is original, but really it's taking components from different industries. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but yeah, it's certainly interesting.
Look, this whole episode's not just going to be to focus on threads. We did find it quite interesting, and yeah, who knows? After this isn't going live for a couple of weeks, and it'll be interesting to look back and see how threads is actually going right now, or if the whole world's blown up and Elon and Zuck have, taken each other out. And I actually saw a funny tweet right before we recorded this that somebody tweeted Zuckerberg and said, "You should also go to space because that would really make Elon mad if you did that." And then
That's a great idea.
And then Elon retweeted it or shared it and said, "Zuck is a cuck." And then they just left it at that. I'm like, these are big billionaires just having childish fights online with each other. It's quite interesting. But Nick, we're going to go back in time a little bit to a lesson that was learnt by Pepsi. Would mind sharing that story for us?
Kind of falls in line with our competition and copying people's ideas, and I guess it goes back to the Coke versus Pepsi battle, which I guess is still going on. I don't really know. What was really interesting, just firstly to say, I watched a documentary on Netflix called Pepsi, Where Is My Jet? I couldn't stop watching it, actually. Once I got into it, it was awesome. So I think it was 4 or 5 episodes. But it goes back to the Coke versus Pepsi battle. And Pepsi were obviously second on to the market. So the advertising budget that they had was massive. And you think back to the 90s, I can remember those days, but ads were a big thing and ads were pretty cool. And there was a lot of money that got pumped into ads. And they showed some of the Pepsi ads back then. You had Cindy Crawford was in the Manny Pacquiao, Shaquille O'Neal, just big names that would have charged huge money because they needed to get market share and they needed to get it quick off Coke. So anyway, the documentary is based on a particular ad where they were running a campaign where you could gain Pepsi points by buying and drinking Pepsi. Whether or not you drank it was up to you, but by buying the Pepsi, you could gain Pepsi points. And then you had a catalogue where you could spend those Pepsi points on things like sunglasses and jackets and hats and whatnot. Anyway, they had this really cool ad. I thought it was cool anyway. And they showed this kid getting out of bed, gets up, puts his Pepsi jacket on, walks outside, puts his Pepsi sunnies on, and then and they show him landing at school in a jet. So all the kids are in the classroom and all the papers are flying around. Next thing you know, this jet lands and this kid gets out of the jet. And all through the ad, they had, when he puts the glasses on, it said Pepsi sunglasses, 200 points. Pepsi jacket, 400 points. And then it said Harrier jet, Pepsi Harrier jet, 7 million points. And then the ad finished, and this kid puts his sunnies up and said it beats getting the bus or something. It all sounds pretty normal to now, and pretty, just like a normal cool ad back in the 90s. But this young guy called Leonard watched it. He was 20 years old, and he saw an opportunity to get the jet. So what he'd figured out was there was no disclaimer on the points. So the offer or the points given for the jacket was correct. The points given for the sunglasses were correct. But then they had 7 million points for this jet. So his mind got ticking, and he's like, okay, I'll just need to get 7 million points. How do I do this? He knew a guy that he'd met through life who was quite wealthy and who decided he would back him on this, and we're going to go and get this jet off Pepsi for 7 million points. Drew up a business plan, worked out they'd need warehouses to house all the Pepsi they needed to buy. They worked out they'd need employees, did the business plan, and worked out it cost about $4.3 million to buy that amount of Pepsi. Still cheap because these jets were worth $32 million, I think, from memory, and this is US.
Yeah.
So anyway, that didn't work. So the guy shut it down, and then quite some time later, not too far down the track because the competition was still going on, he sees like a cardboard cutout marketing stand thing in a 7-Eleven shop or some kind of shop, picks up the catalogue, starts flicking through it, thinking what could have been, and he sees in the fine print 10 cents. Similar to Qantas, if you don't have enough points to buy something, you can buy the points for 10 cents each. So this guy worked out, 10 cents each for a point. That gets me a jet delivered for about 700,000 because I only need 7 million points. So he goes back to the guy who was going to invest in him, tells him the story, goes, let's do it. So they cut a check for 700 grand to Pepsi. They send the check to Pepsi, and this is where it all kicks off. Pepsi basically shut it down and send him 2 vouchers and the check back or something. Anyway, this turned into a Tell me fix that up. Anyway, this turned into a 4-year saga, 3 to 4 year saga of Pepsi versus this young guy Leonard and his backers. He was saying there was no disclaimer on the ad. It was a legitimate offer. Is the legal path they were going down? That 7 million points would get the jet. They had some other things that they dug up on Pepsi, like Pepsi actually misprinted some bottle caps for another competition in the Philippines, and some people thought they'd won $1 million basically, but it was because of the misprint on the bottle caps. I think it was about 5. Pepsi didn't pay up. There was actually riots and whatnot in the Philippines when it didn't happen. So it went down this path of these big corporates that want to throw things out there. And did Pepsi know what they were doing, or didn't they know what they were doing? And this is where it got really interesting, because what happened after this guy had sent them the 700,000 and was chasing the jet? Go back a step. He did actually get a settlement offer. So in their first meeting, he got offered $750K. He didn't take it. He wanted the jet. So what happened post him first going at Pepsi is they changed it to 70 million. Then they changed it to 700 million points. Then they had another ad come out, and underneath it they had just kidding. So they were admitting to fault by doing that. So this is all the legal terms that are starting to come out. They also worked out that they had a disclaimer in Canada. So when the ad came out in Canada, when it originally came out, it had a disclaimer. The American one didn't. So the argument was then, okay, well, what did you really think that, were you trying to make kids think this was actually possible so they would buy more Pepsi? Now I'll go to the end, and it all got thrown out of court after 3 or 4 years ago. They had a corporate lawyer that said, look, no normal person would expect that is a legitimate offer. And they had some reasons as to why not. But they were going down the path of, big corporates trying to brainwash kids on what is possible. So yeah, look, it was a really cool doco. I actually thought that I could see Marty Vidakovic doing this as a kid, going, okay, 7 million points, 10 cents.
I still have some points.
I can make this. I can make this work. But yeah, I thought it was cool. David versus Goliath story. So if anyone is looking for something interesting on Netflix, a doco, watch Pepsi, Where Is My Jet?
No, I quite like it. I mean, especially thinking about, Twitter existed and then Threads has come out. Coca-Cola existed and then Pepsi became the next player in the market. So it's just the lessons learned about, if there is enough space in the market for more than one competitor doing something very similar. And, because of course there's going to be slight differentials to both kind of offerings, right? When you're talking Coke and Pepsi, some people really prefer Pepsi over Coke, and then others are like, no, Coca-Cola's way better. And but yeah, I mean, the lessons learned in, how not to market and advertise and how to do things properly. But
what was interesting, every person they interviewed did the Pepsi Coke challenge. So they gave them 2 cups, one with Coke, one with Pepsi, with obviously no labels. And they had to drink it and go with their preferred. And I think it was Pepsi was 6.4 or 6.5 or something. Coke actually won. It was almost like a screw you Pepsi kind of moment at the end, So, yeah, I don't. I'm not having a go at your age here, Marty, but you probably remember the ads. But I don't remember the ads. I'm being serious. I was too young, so they were talking about Pepsi being the really cool brand. Coke was the brand that everyone drank, and Pepsi had to come in and be different. So they had to be cool, which is why they had Cindy Crawford, they had Shaquille O'Neal. Yeah, I don't remember those ads, but that's what they were going for.
Back in the day, it was certainly a big battle on TV, and not that I can remember much anymore given my age, but it's Pepsi was certainly prominent in trying to be cool, but Coke tasted better, and Coke was it. That was the ad. Coke is it. It was like, well, yeah, Pepsi's trying, but Coke is it. And it was like, that was, they were always battling. And what I really loved about that story though, Nick, is the specialised knowledge and just the intellect of that guy having a crack and also working out when to spend that time and effort and money in trying to do something like that, and when it's bordering on absolutely ridiculous and crazy. Because I know a lot of people that are intellectual geniuses, but what's the result you're trying to get out of going through that whole process? So that would have been incredible if he got that payout and secured the payout. That would have been the real story, the 750 that Pepsi were offering.
Does he regret not taking the check?
It'd have to. It's like Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, no, he definitely did. He definitely did. But I can understand his thinking, right? First meeting, and he gets offered $750K.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
got to say, okay, we've got something here. But the reality is, and this is what the court said, this is purely a money grab. No
Yeah.
one was disadvantaged here. It was meant to be a joke. It should have been taken as a joke. It's obviously a money grab. The lawyers can spin that they're trying to brainwash kids all they want, but the reality is it's a money grab from the people that were driving it. But all the way up until the end, because I was telling Marty this morning, I actually forced myself not to Google it after the first episode and find out if he won or not. All the way up until the end, I was like, I think he's going to get paid. And then he just doesn't. And they're unlucky in the end because they got the wrong judge, really. And it was quite apparent that Pepsi had a lot of cash and a pretty big legal team, and it was always going to be a hard one to win. And they got a judge who was very pro big corporate, which was probably the nail in the coffin.
Well, I think it changed a lot of the disclaimer laws at the time as well. Like people became very tight with their advertising throughout many different industries, not only products. So it was, it's I do remember it, and it was a great story. And I just think that particularly because Charlie at the moment, my son, he's collecting coins, and it's like he's buying coins and getting coins at face value, and he knows what the upside of that value is because that's what he loves doing. So it's really interesting when you're talking about that. I'm thinking about what he's doing in securing these coins at the real price as opposed to what he knows the heightened price is based on his own studies on what they're selling them for. But again, it's a strategy, specialized knowledge. They were looking for a way and utilizing their intelligence and their resources to find a gap and a point of difference in the market. So there's some really good things to that, but also, like you said, it's got to be fair and reasonable too. That was it makes for a great story though. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed a bit of a light-hearted episode, Threads versus Twitter and Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, and unpacking a few of the things going on. If you haven't seen that doco on Netflix, go and check it out. And until next time, thank you for listening. Give us a like, follow us on Threads if that's a thing. Is it a follow on Threads? I don't know, but the Numbers Game podcast has done its first thread, if that's even what it's called. So get over there, like it, share it, thread it, post it, and share us with a friend. We love having new listeners. And until next time,
I think you got to tie the thread. Game over.